right. Okay, guys, let's get the December 2nd WASP meeting kicked off. So I think we've got some new folks dialed in today. Mike, you want to give us a quick intro?
Hey guys, Mike Zuper, longtime Java developer, working in the corporate world, doing my thing, but just trying to participate here in WASC and WASM and Rust and see where I can contribute and help as much as I can. Been following along, so you guys are doing some great stuff and look to see where I can contribute.
That's awesome. Well, welcome along. So last week the Wasm Time meeting was canceled with Thanksgiving, so no major updates from there. Although the meeting before there were quite a few updates. If you want to check the notes as far as WASI getting merged in and some of the experiment stuff that they're working on. So why don't we get started? Ralph, I think you've got something on the blog post list for communities and stuff like that. Do you need to share your screen or is this verbal?
No, this is verbal first. There is actually one link that you can bring up for me.
Okay.
So to kind of just re-summarize for everybody, including Mike, and pleasure to have you here. We had discussed quite a bit about the fact that there's a lot of companies and developers who are beginning to take great interest in WebAssembly and all its forms outside of the browser. There's plenty of people taking care of WebAssembly in the browser, and that's not really my concern, but even though it's a thing that people do. And WASI and evolving things involved in WASI experiments and various aspects of that. And so we had chatted with a bunch of people. I've been chatting with the people that had moved from the BCA, the Bytecode Alliance, over to Fastly, and I was saying the kinds of things that we usually share here, which is basically that over the next 3 months, first of all, we're lazy over the holidays. So that means we want to sit and write about the things we learn because it's kind of fun to do when you're not really busting your behind for, some particular thing you want to release at a particular time. We have day jobs, things like that. So over the next 2-3 months, it's a great time, and we have a lot of learnings on our side. And so we were sitting there thinking, hey, we should collaborate on some blog posts. And I was specifically, in this case, thinking about writing something with various Fastly people who were in the networking group about experiments, things like the BSD sockets work that Radu had done on our team and stuff. And Pat Hickey over at Fastly had said that they had a bunch of HTTP stuff that they had also experimented with that they would like to have people. So we had realized we should do some of this work. And then it occurred to me that we should blog about it, of course. And then it occurred to me that everybody should blog about this stuff. So the issue here is the blog post list for community folks. I am logging into HackMD, not Google Docs. I have no problem with Google Docs. I just really like HackMD as a sort of nice, easy, shareable thing. It's not terribly complex.
Do you have a link you want to share, or do you want me to just hand?
I'm gonna create it in this meeting because, of course, I haven't done it. But the objective is to do the following. We're going to lay out probably as many as 4 or even as many as 8 blog topics that we intend to write about that will be about mainly geeky stuff, things we've learned, experiments, and so forth. So you could think of this as like the WebAssembly newsletter, the WASM newsletter kind of thing, but with a lot deeper focus on precisely the areas that we're playing with here, and especially experiments. There's no most of the education that we have is from the experiments that we built. And I will throw it over to everybody. So first of all, anybody here want to put in, and we're going to put in some, like, we think it should be in this time frame that we announce it. You can put in what channel you want, so forth. And we want everybody. I'm going to reach out to everybody. I'll do the Zulip thing in the BCA and reach out to, and everybody should think of this as an open invitation to register a topic that you want to write about in a rough time frame. If that makes sense. So the first one that will go out tomorrow that is on queue I am going to go and get the URL for and give you a preview if I can find it. But I'll drop that in here.
Okay, super. I'll get it linked into the notes and go from there.
Go.
If you want to just Slack it over to me.
Yeah, here we go.
Or whatever the case would be.
Actually, I'll just drop it in the message, the chat window.
Sure.
Anybody can go. The reason that this is just under, everybody's reviewed it, so it's like we could publish this anytime, but we were thinking of publishing it tomorrow. And the work that we're describing in there is already open, so people could have stumbled across it and discussed it, but there you go.
Okay, that's awesome.
So that's that.
That's awesome. And then on the Crustlet and Crit follow-up, you and Chris, I know, are still working through that a bit.
Yeah, and we'll follow up very shortly and send back.
Okay, super. So .15 big rewrite release. Anybody on our side want to start? Brooks, Kevin, Chris, Bill, I don't know if you're on.
Yeah, I guess I can start. We're pretty close to the finish line right now. Most of the new rewritten host is done. So the stuff that's really left that we haven't quite finished yet is some of the control interface stuff. Things like doing the auctions for scheduling and remote stop and start, things like that. But most of the stuff that used to exist prior to O.15 is all essentially rewritten. Brooks can probably give an update on the new wasmCLI to rule them all. Those of you who don't know, we've taken the CLI that we were using for keys, the one that we were using for signing, the one that we were using for talking to the lattice controls. All of those are now one CLI. And one of the other things that we're working on, one of the ones that I'm most excited about, is that that CLI has a REPL in it. So you'll be able to interactively sit inside your wasmCloud host and fetch and start and stop actors and set bindings and make invocations and trace them and all that good stuff.
And we decided that we were going to call that a WASH, right? Like bash, a rash, right?
Nope, I'm fairly certain that's not how it's pronounced. I'm going to revoke your Zoom privileges if you try that again.
So we're going to go with WASH.
I think we're going to go with WASH. WASH is, yeah.
All right.
WASH it is.
Is that a good handoff to you, Brooks, for a WASH update?
Yeah, sure. So as far as WASH goes, there have been two more things that we've added to the command. Liam, I can share if you want.
Absolutely.
Let's see. You might have to make me a co-host. I don't think I can do it.
Already on it. We should make everybody co-host. Go ahead.
There we go. Well, I'll go ahead and share a little bit of what I've been working on. Two things. So with WASH, I've already kind of demoed creating keys and JWTs for signing actors. I'd love to continue to make tutorials and stuff for that, but I'll leave that out of this this quick demo. The two extra commands that I've been working on and working on getting merged in are our registry commands, which is just interacting with an OCI compliant registry. With some of the code that I've put into the PR to the OCI distribution crate, we can now push and pull from OCI registries. So that includes our capability providers as well as signed WASC actors. So just to give you a quick demo of what that looks like, pulling a capability provider from our Azure container registry just looks like wash reg pull and then wasc azure cr.io. So you can hear my dog squeaking a turkey in the background. And then you can just put in the tag just like you would do a Docker pull. And downloading this and pushing up is all built into WASH. And so this kind of gives us a really nice ability to script some of these things later on. When we start building capability providers, we can use the wasmCloud, just the collection of these commands to build, sign, and push our actors and capability providers. We can also, if we wanted to right away, we can inspect this capability provider that we pulled down, and we can see that it has a bunch of different architecture targets. As all these commands get fleshed out, it kind of all comes together why this is like a valuable thing to have for development. I won't demo pushing just because I don't have anything super valuable to push up to our registry. I guess I could just push the same thing back up, but I don't think I have credentials, so I'm not going to do that now. And then the other thing that I've been working on, which is just on my like local build of wash for now, is the REPL, which is up. And when you run wash up, which is entirely pun intended, it launches this REPL for you where you're free to type in commands. All of the log output gets dumped on the screen here thanks to the TUI Smart Logger widget, which was really awesome for creating this terminal UI and for us being able to see everything on the screen here. As well as like another part of this smart logger is that we can select the log level that we want to see. So like, I'm not really sure what this Mio poll thing is. It tells me whenever I type for the first time, we can remove that from the command output. Same thing if we like screw up typing a command, we have different log levels that we're using, so we can edit those out. And this is going to be huge, even though for right now we're just like capturing what command we're typing and parsing it. There's no actual functionality here. But what this is going to look like in the future is we'll be able to run a full like wash example in this REPL. And it's going to be really easy for a developer to like get started with just using wash in the first place, or wasmCloud in the first place.
Yeah, the new getting started tutorial will actually end up being essentially earlier in the journey than the first getting started one that we have now. And with that tutorial, you'll be able to get the wash CLI from Brew or APT or any other source. And then you can go through the entire tutorial without ever compiling anything. You can fetch your actors and play with them and experiment with bindings and links and all that stuff without ever even opening an IDE.
Yeah, and this will probably also lead into, we have an issue open now to create a suite of like Katacoda style or Katacoda tutorials for wash, being able to have, or for, I keep saying that for wasmCloud, but being able to just directly interpret these commands is going to make that a lot easier without diving, even though we get rid of a lot of the boilerplate for writing WebAssembly. I mean, this just makes it a lot easier.
That's awesome. Radu, anybody have any comments? Ralph, questions?
You got to show them that you support the Vim exit commands.
Oh yeah. So you can type in, your normal everyday quit if you feel like getting out of here, but you can also do your favorite IDE quit.
Yes. That's really all that matters. I mean, I think we're done here.
Pretty much. Yep.
Look, if you provide an escape mechanism, right, then they'll never leave. It's not providing one that forces them to go.
I was using what was currently in Brooks's branch, and it doesn't have that, I believe. So I was actually stuck in it until I found that you can only type exit with what's up there.
Just a couple of reactions, and then because the great thing is that I mean, what Radu mentions is absolutely right. The only thing I can see is one of the things that happens when you roll forward is that you can optimize the developer experience all you want. But if you end up trapping the developers in the CLI, you're going to create a future limitation for adoption and education in a stupider, simpler tool. So naturally, I'm at Microsoft, so I happen to be the program manager for the Visual Studio Code Kubernetes extension. So you're talking to somebody, so you think that in my mind, but it doesn't have to be that IDE. The critical thing about something like that is this kind of tool is a tool for optimizing developer experience to have a great experience with WASC. wasmCloud. Do I call it wasmCloud now, or do I call it WASC?
wasmCloud's fine now, but
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next, Ralph.
Okay, no problem. So in my brain, it's WASC, right? So so forgive me.
Yeah,
but basically, you can see where I'm going is like I want to make sure, or at least my offering would be, this looks fantastic. It really does. I love it. But you would want to have in your brain in the future as you go, one way to have to increase accessibility is to be able to plug the CLI into a very nice WYSIWYG front end kind of thing, and have the same information export. And there are some tools that I'd really love to have an extension for that make it super useful inside VS Code, but
so we have a requirement on all of the tooling that anything that you can do in the REPL has to be something that the CLI supports as a scriptable Linux shell command. And all of the shell commands need to be something that's supported either through a programming crate or through an RPC interface over NATs. So that there's everything that you see here, you can do in progressively harder ways if you want.
Sure, no problem. I was actually thinking about the visual representation. So often people will build, the logical thing is you're going to build a library and then you wrap your library with a CLI. Right. But then people can rebuild this visual interface using the library.
Ralph, you're exactly right. What we really focused on first was sketching out the developer experience here, like comic strip style. What are just the functional things that need to be done in what order, and make those as simple as possible? What can we cut out? And then this is the first draft of the experience. But absolutely, this is designed in a way to make it scriptable and pluggable and automatable, integratable. We know that that's where the real value is in.
Sure, and all I'm talking about is don't hedge yourself in down the line, and that's it. The experience that I see here is really cool. I really like the accessibility of installation with all the package managers, so that's critical, right? You should give developers like brew install or apt-get or whatever they want and really early, so they don't have to think. That's really good. The layout, the ability to exit pretty much any editor, which I like. All of those things really make ease of use instant rather than delay it, right? And I think that's fantastic. So outside of that, I mean, this looks really great. So I'd invite Radu and Fisher and Butcher to wade in and give their nits.
Sure. Do you want to go on a drop screen sharing, Brooks? We'll go back to team view for a bit. Great, thank you.
Oh, I love it. I want to REPL like that for all my CLI tools.
Okay, awesome.
And I think the simplest thing to have for an eventual VS Code extension at some point is just JSON output for commands, and that would significantly simplify parsing the output responses and formatting them in some other visual ways.
Yeah, we started doing that back in the day, and by that I mean 3 weeks ago. All of our existing CLIs have a flag that will turn the output from friendly into JSON, and that's been infinitely useful. So we're probably going to stick with that same pattern as well.
Well, to the point, I'll sneak in Bill's update here. He's unfortunately out today, but and then Chris will turn over to you. But Bill's been working super hard, and right now has the packaging ready for testing on AMD x86 and ARM64 for these work streams here. So if we, it's up here at Package Cloud. I don't know what the status is on making it live, but we'll have it integratable into your host operating system, so that we can, so that you can even stay up to date with your standard package management tools, get notified of any updates, those kind of things. And with that, maybe and Brew is on the way. We're trying to get this finished in time for, as Kevin mentioned, December 7th was just our day of infamy here of where we wanted to complete. We have a new demo script written here for our vision. This is almost like our new experience here of using the CLI, and I'll get this linked in the notes if people want to come into here and maybe drop us some feedback or comments in the notes on the experience. But I think the folks on this call should get it pretty quick as far as what we're trying to get there. So with that, maybe Chris, we'll turn it over to you. Any updates this week?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, mostly just right now I'm playing with TUI and seeing what kind of stuff they got going on in there and adding some stuff to wash up. It's also helping Bill with some of the build stuff. The wasm3 Rust package, it requires Clang 9 to build, and it was not liking being built in a cross container, so I was trying to track down if I could make that work or not, so that we can do a cross compile with it. So yeah, that's really all I got.
Okay, awesome. Let's see, and then let's see on the so wasmCloud is the next discussion here. So what is wasmCloud? So the last few months, we've been really kind of working with this ecosystem of tools here. As more people have continued to join the community, I've been meeting with some of the stakeholders that are building. I had a great meeting with IBM this week, and a handful of other partners that we're just not ready to talk about on a recorded call. But as folks are getting in, we're looking for a place, Ralph, to your point, to kind of share things. So without having in our ideal world, this would all go right into WASM Foundation today.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it'd already be there, right?
Right.
But what we want is a placeholder for the short term, 6 months or a year, however long that takes to kind of get out. So what we've done in the interim is we've actually created a new entity. This is a real a company called wasmCloud. And we're going to be relaunching. This is the kind of vision for relaunching the site that really starts to focus around the experience of what wasmCloud is. We've got some draft logo designs, but hopefully we'll have that ready in a week or so here. And we're really thinking through more of the community stuff compared to our regular, site, which is, currently been at wasp.dev. This kind of takes you right into the tactical without giving you the kind of high level and the how do we continue to onboard the community into here. So what you'll see in the next week or so is us start rebranding things out to wasmCloud, referring to the suite of utilities that work all together, and then also relaunching documentation, our packaging, relaunching some new tutorials here. This is all just kind of concept stuff, some high-level videos, as well as some community resources here. So I'll link this as a demo into the notes if people want to give us some feedback and let us know what we're missing. But what our real goal here is to have a place where we can continue to do things like write logo exchanges and stuff like that as we move forward and get this towards a foundation. I will also I would love some feedback on this, but I think I'm going to have wasmCloud join the CNCF in the interim and the Linux Foundation as a full-on member, so that we start showing up at least in the community, and we can start officially advocating for submitting for WASM-related talks for KubeCon EU and through the event series next year. And it broke my heart that, in my dream world, we were announcing the WebAssembly Foundation at KubeCon.
At KubeCon, yeah.
At KubeCon this year, and no bad dogs there. I understand how with people moving between companies and all the other things. Like it's not a like nobody's keeping up here. It's just
it would have been nice.
We just haven't gotten there as a community yet. So we still want to make sure we keep that momentum going. And what would likely happen is we'll try to join as incubating, and then when WASM Foundation, whatever Bytecode Alliance picks up and actually exists, we'll swing over and either stay in both, or however we sort of do the the back and forth. Any questions or thoughts about what our plans are for wasmCloud, and where we plan to go with that?
Not at all. I mean, not on my part. I think that makes complete sense. You need to move forward.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you make the statements about being good community members and looking forward to what the overall community does. I don't think there's any blockers and that I can think of, any issues at all in that idea.
Okay, super. Well, I really would love feedback on the website itself, on the are we onboarding people, the script, and the new website, or the prototype website will be linked out. For the actual execution of this, speaking of community building, wasmCloud is now set up for HubSpot and all those tools. So the likely root homepage, all the it'll be Docusaurus or Hugo on the docs and things on the back end, just like we are now. I'd keep things simple and straight. But on the front end, we'll have, like a newsletter and signups, and really start to try to scale this and think about, how do we take this rough and tumble mob here and turn it into a real community. And if you've noticed, the last few weeks, we've really tried to up the game on, prepared agendas for our meetings, recording talks, getting them out there. And you'll continue to see, I hope, a lot more structure around around our efforts here themselves, mature as we continue to grow and pull people into the community here. Okay, any questions about that or thoughts? Anybody? Well, let's turn it over maybe to community. I mean, Radu, Taylor, Matt, Mike, anybody got Jared? Anybody have anything they want to share this week?
Nothing new to share. I had a couple PRs that I'd put up, and I just wasn't sure if there was any plans to merge those in. I think there was some discussions on waiting. I just didn't know, what the blocker and what was going to actually release those PRs.
Yeah, I sorry for the delay there. The change that we've been doing for the control interface has essentially changed every single file in that whole branch. So I just wanted to get that one merged, and then I'm going to go through and see how easy it is to fix up those other ones. But yeah, once we merge, what is it, number 16, I'm going to go through and follow up on the other ones. They should be quick.
Cool. All right, no problem.
Does anybody on our side know if the refactoring of Crustlet's state machine thing will have any impact, any noticeable impact on the wasmCloud stuff, or has Ivan taken care of all of that already? I haven't read the recent PR.
I'm reviewing it, not today, but probably tomorrow, and then I'll know what it'll do. But once that's in, we've just been waiting, trying to get that refactor done before we actually move things over to the artist formerly known as waSCC repo. So that is my current plan. Sorry, broke up there.
And I think Brooks has an open PR on the OCI stuff as well.
I do, yeah. Looking forward to any feedback or suggestions there. Happy to start contributing to Crustlet and get something in there.
To be honest, Radu is probably the one who needs to review that one.
Yeah, I got a couple of comments from Matt Fisher and somebody else whose name is escaping my brain right now. And I've tried to address most of them as best as I could.
Yep, I'll give that PR a try later this week. And I think I do have a tiny PR on the wasmTime provider for waSCC that addresses one to do in there. I'm not sure. And it's probably one of the areas that I'm particularly interested in is waSCC and knowing what direction is taking, given all the changes that are going on with wasmCloud and everything else.
Is there any action or anything that you need to tee up for us to sort of like pay attention to on that, or?
No, not really. It's more of a general question.
Okay.
So in general, what we've been doing is making WAPC easier to use and making the difference between WAPC and wasmCloud to be less brittle. So wasmCloud has moved to completely generating all of its data types that it uses for the WebAssembly modules. And so now, essentially the only real difference between a straight WAPC module and a wasmCloud module is that wasmCloud ones are required to implement health checks and WAPC ones aren't. But that's essentially it. That plus the embedded signature.
Phil couldn't make it today, but he is working. We'll get hopefully an update from him next week. I'll put it on our backlog around all of the work around WAPC. Essentially, what the big feature that we've been working on pulling in has been support for additional languages that flow right into us is the first piece. And then downstream on our roadmap here a little bit is we've been testing wasmCloud running right in your browser. So you'll be able to have the backend components, the IoT, all the things, and then also have the same components running your browser as well. We've done some early testing on that. Kevin doesn't feel there's any blockers there, but that's where we're going with this, with support for all the languages in the ecosystem and all the other pieces as well.
And just to be clear, I don't have a blocker specifically on anything on WAPC right now. Just more of a general curiosity because I follow the project along, and it's the way it does things and the way it passes host calls and everything else. So I do enjoy testing it from time to time.
Enjoy testing it from time to time.
Well, essentially everybody in WebAssembly is doing some sort of guest and host calling back and forth, and looking at how everybody else does it is very informative.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had there've been some real heart-to-heart discussions with the Bytecode Alliance crew on WAPC and its fit and some of the components downstream that are on the roadmap for Cora WebAssembly. But I don't know that we have enough time in the day to finish that discussion, and we're going to need a lot more bourbon than what I think we have on hand. Okay, so I think the only maybe if there's any issues we want to highlight, Chris, you brought up an awesome architectural decision log. Did you maybe want to kind of walk us through that real quick on the enforcing set? Was it the enforcing sign artifacts, or is it still in a PR here?
The issue, I made an issue to write one up, so that would be like a placeholder for writing up an awesome ADR.
I thought you actually wrote it. Am I wrong?
No, I just wanted to provide context so that when we write it is what the expectations were will be there.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess one in flight then. So totally dropped the ball on that one. So coming down our agenda here, share my screen again. I think we're almost through all of our content. Not sure which screen I shared.
Waiting for Google.
Looks like you clicked on the loading bar in Chrome somehow.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll edit the video later. None of this happened. This is all a cutout time at 1:39. Okay, so on our backlog, we've been doing some experimenting with documentation rewrite. Docusaurus looks like an early leader, but partly because it's very similar to what we're doing now with Hugo. The advantage is that it's just written for logs, so that it has like baked in support for multilingual and a few other things. So we have more experimentation there. We'd love to get an update down the stream about where things are heading with Crustlet. The Kata Coda tutorials got mentioned earlier, but that'll be early on our roadmap in 2021 as we sort of finish the .15 rewrite and look at scaling, onboarding people a bit better. And then there was a discussion, Ralph, you queued up around Crustlet and WASM 3 on small devices as a potential discussion. And then Kevin, how are things on your edX class for January? Is that still just another thing you'll do at 2 in.the morning when you stay up all night doing all your work?
Yeah, it's probably gonna continue being 2 in.the morning and on weekends. It's going slower than I expected, but pandemics are like that, right?
All right, awesome. Open floor. Anybody got anything else today?
Just wanted to throw it out there. When it comes to documentation, examples, tutorials, anything about the onboarding, I'd love to be able to help out. I jumped into all this stuff right before a lot of the turbulence, and I pointed a lot of people to it, and they're just like, "What the hell are you talking about? Nothing works." So I would love to be able to help out with whatever gets people in faster, and to know what repositories and where things are, so I'm not contributing to things that are going to be out of date soon.
I'll grab some time with you, Jared, and take you through the new onboarding experience, and we can maybe have you start running through some tests on that as we look at, I always think in, comic strips, so we can start, kind of writing down, there's a couple different ways we could go here. We could think about, what would a content roadmap look like for a learning plan for people? When we think about, awareness of a project, learning, right? Education for topics, selection, right? So we could think about, the types of content that we need here. We need, blogs, we need, videos, we need, the demo code, stuff like that, from a content roadmap point of view. Or we could also think about, as you get in and try to run this script here, we'll write, the Jared comic. And we can say what was your pain in, in each section here as you go through and say, oh man, guys, this was terrible. It's supposed to be just Skull and Crossbones. Maybe I should stick to my day job. Oh wait, this is my day job now, right? And we could, work on, kind of like sketching out some of these, user stories for, how things went and, the various pieces here as you're going through it. Thoughts?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think getting access to basically the step-by-step to get to a certain point so that I can go through that repeatedly with also other people and record the experience would be valuable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna say if you guys do go through some onboarding, I'd like to at least watch the recording and get some materials myself, because I'm cranking code out. I'm banging on this stuff. I really want to. I ran into several issues. Like I fought for a weekend with the Crustlet stuff, and I got some marginal success there, but I think it could be a lot cleaner. And I'd like to be the one helping, as Jared pointed out, providing that clarity. As long as I have access to some of the source and materials, I can start to try it out myself and then get others on it as well.
I love it, guys. I'll make sure that you guys have this linked afterwards. And I would just point out here that this stuff is publicly available, like this demonstration for wasmCloud. I'll get it linked on. Certainly it'll be linked on the new wasmCloud site, but I'll make sure I pin this into Slack here as well as into the notes, so you guys can start walking through those things. But what I'm trying to take a step back myself a little more strategically is working on creating some of these content roadmaps here for wasmCloud. When we think about really helping people to understand the content space and everything, look for some more of that work being driven out of wasmCloud itself. Ralph, you're on mute. I don't know if you were.
Oh, I'm negotiating the eating schedule here on the East Coast.
All good.
So you can continue.
Awesome. And I think the only last thing I have is a team holiday party. So I'm happy to host another bourbon tasting that I will link. I will send out to everyone here, and we'll do the same thing as we did last time. With the 5 unlabeled spirits, and we'll do a team social event. I will in the on the form that I drop out, I'll list a couple of dates. I will try to make them as accessible as possible, so we can't be too early in the day, or we can't be too late for other people. So I don't know who will end up starting drinking at 4 and who will start drinking at noon and who will start drinking at 9, but we'll have to make a call on that.
And we'll find out when they stop drinking or stop being conscious.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll watch for that to come out. That's on my to-do list for this afternoon. I don't think we have anything else. I'm looking at the notes here. 9 a.m. would infringe on coffee time. I think the solution here is just to mix the two, cross the streams. Egon may have said that crossing the streams is bad, but I'm telling you, balancing your uppers and your downers is the way to go.
I am absolutely a fan of surfing and finding balance.
All right, cut and recording. Everybody have a great week. We're going to hang on.